Today we're diving into what might be the definitive witness statement of our time.
And it's from a man whose voice, it's narrated the wonders of the natural world for generations. Sir David Attenborough.
He's spent, what, over 70 years as this authoritative, trusted guide for all of us?
Exactly.
But the work we've gathered here, his recent books, films, interviews, it shows a profound shift.
It really does. He's no longer just the observer on the sidelines.
No, he's become the activist. He's issuing what he calls his final urgent warning.
But, and this is the part that I think is so important, he doesn't just leave it at the warning.
No, he couples it with a cohesive and actually achievable plan for survival. And it's optimistic, which is surprising.
Okay, so let's unpack that. We're not just looking at one film. We have a whole stack of sources that really, they form a single powerful argument.
The main one is the book and film, A Life on Our Planet.
Right, but we're backing that up with the cold data from extinction, the facts, and the systems analysis in breaking boundaries.
The mission here is to really get the gravity of his message. And it's all rooted in this one core idea he has.
Let's hear it.
He says, we tend to think we are the be-all and end-all, but we're not. The sooner we can realize that the natural world goes its way, not our way, the better.
That quote is everything. It's the whole pivot.
It is. It moves us away from thinking humanity is the center of the universe to the reality of planetary boundaries.
That we've been operating under this illusion of control.
A dangerous illusion. Believing the Earth is just a stage for us to expand on. And Attenborough, with 7 decades of his own life as evidence, shows us that the stage is, well, it's crumbling.
So our deep dive is going to follow his story. First, we'll trace his personal history, watching the decline happen with his own eyes.
Then we get into the cold, hard science, the mass extinction, the planetary limits.
From there, we'll dissect the human systems, economic, social, that are driving the crisis.
And finally, we get to the hopeful part. His vision for the future, how to rewild the world, which shows that hope is not naive, it's a plan.
So we're starting with A Life on Our Planet. He calls it his witness statement.
Which is just a brilliant framing.
It really is, because he intertwines his own career, which is, the high point of human documentation of nature, with the absolute low point of the planet's health.
It's a parallel timeline. Human success on one track, natural destruction on the other.
And the structure of that book, it just grabs you immediately.
Oh, absolutely. It doesn't start where you'd expect an Attenborough film to start. There's no beautiful tropical paradise.
No, it opens in Pripyat, Ukraine.
Chernobyl, the ghost town. By starting in a place abandoned because of human catastrophe, he sets the theme of collapse from page 1.
But there's a twist, isn't there?
There is. He shows that nature isn't just reclaiming the space after the humans left.
Yeah.
It's thriving there.
Proving that our absence allows for this rapid recovery.
Exactly. So the tone is grim and hopeful all at once.
And from there, the book has this devastating rhythm to it.
It really does. Each chapter is a decade of his life, his career. But before he tells the stories, he hits you with 3 statistics.
The 3 grim statistics: world population, atmospheric carbon, and the one that always gets me:
remaining wilderness, the percentage of the planet that's still wild.
It's just chilling to see those numbers change chapter by chapter.
It forces you to see how fast this has all happened.
Yeah.
In 1937, the year he was born, the world population was 2.3 billion.
Okay.
CO2 was 280 parts per million, and 66% of the planet was wilderness. 2/3.
And by the time he's making those amazing documentaries in the 70s...
wilderness was already down to 55%. And today
we're what, nearly 8 billion people?
Pushing it. Over 415 parts per million CO2, and the wilderness has just plummeted to 35%.
In one human lifetime.
That's his witness statement.
So let's go back to the beginning. The 1950s, he starts at the BBC, going to places that must have seemed limitless, like the Serengeti.
And back then, he observed something we've kind of forgotten, which is about scale. The sheer scale of what nature needs. He saw that the big animals in the Serengeti needed these vast uninterrupted lands for grazing, for migration. That need for wilderness was just the norm. The world felt infinite.
But that feeling didn't last.
Not at all. As his career went on, it wasn't just an abstract idea of decline. He saw it in the daily work of making films.
It got harder to find the animals.
Exponentially harder. He talks about how early on, finding a big school of fish or a group of orangutans was relatively easy.
But by the 80s and 90s...
crews were spending weeks searching for what they could have found in days. 20 years earlier. The job itself became a measure of how much the planet was shrinking.
And it wasn't just the animals, it was the planet itself changing. He saw it at the poles, right? Before climate change was even a big public topic.
Yes, in the Arctic and Antarctic.
Yeah.
His crews were noticing that the ice was just different, less stable, thinner than the maps or historical records suggested it should be.
So they were documenting climate change without even setting out to.
The landscape was literally changing in front of the camera.
Yeah.
It showed that our impact was reaching every single corner of the globe.
So his personal observation perfectly matches the scientific data.
And that leads to the undeniable conclusion. The causes are, 1, anthropogenic climate change, and 2, biodiversity loss. And he insists they're two sides of the same coin.
And the really terrifying point is that we're pushing the planet towards what do they call it? A sixth mass extinction.
Right. And unlike the other ones, the one that got the dinosaurs, those took hundreds of thousands of years to happen. This one
is happening in centuries.
driven by a single species. We are moving faster than nature can possibly adapt.
And this is where it gets really, really interesting, because he doesn't just look back. He projects forward.
The catastrophe scenario. It's like a ghost story for the future.
What a lifetime starting in 2020 would look like if we just carry on as we are.
And it's a cascading failure. One system collapses, and it triggers the next. For instance, he projects the Amazon rainforest degrading into a dry savanna.
Which wouldn't just be a local disaster, that releases billions of tons of carbon.
Precisely. And that would push global warming past the point of no return. It would guarantee other collapses.
Like the Arctic losing all its summer ice.
Which would remove the planet's cooling system, the albedo effect, and accelerate warming even more. Then you have the mass death of coral reefs from ocean acidification.
Wiping out entire marine ecosystems. And then you add food crises on top of that from over-farming the soil.
And he makes it clear these aren't separate problems. They are interconnected, irreversible tipping points.
Irreversible, that's the key word.
It is. Once you hit them, they create these feedback loops. The planet goes from changing in a way we can manage to this autonomous, self-accelerating breakdown.
So the message is, we've assumed the Earth will just bend to our will.
But if we push it too far, it will go its way, not ours. And we'll be the ultimate victims.
That is a terrifying stage to set. Which brings us from his personal story to the cold, hard science in works like Extinction, the facts, and breaking boundaries.
And this is where the numbers just become overwhelming.
They really do. Let's start with the statistics from Extinction. The facts.
The headline stat is that humans are causing extinctions at a rate about 100 times faster than the natural pre-industrial rate.
100 times. It's hard to even picture that.
Imagine the natural rate is a slow drip from a tap. What we're doing is like turning on a fire hose. It's a massive, uncontrolled flood.
And it's not just the big famous animals. The number they cite is 1 million species at risk of extinction.
Out of an estimated 8 million, so that's 1 in 8 of every known living thing on the planet. Insects, fungi, plants on the brink.
And they mention 1 in 4 plant species faces extinction risk.
Which threatens the entire foundation of every ecosystem, including our own agriculture.
They use that one tragic example to make it real, the conservationists watching the last 2 northern white rhinos.
A mother and daughter. Under 24-hour guard, but still biologically marching towards extinction, that image it crystallizes the whole thing. The helplessness.
And Attenborough makes a direct link between this and climate change. He calls it an escalator to extinction.
This is a great analogy. As temperatures rise, species have to move.
Up mountains or towards the poles?
Exactly. They have to constantly chase the climate conditions they can survive in. But the planet is not infinite. Eventually, they run out of mountain, or they run out of pole. The escalator just takes them right off the top.
Which brings us to this foundational concept from the documentary Breaking Boundaries.
The 9 planetary boundaries. Yes, this is so important. It features the scientist Johan Rockström.
And what's the core idea?
He and his team have identified 9 key systems that have kept the Earth stable for the last 10,000 years, the period we call the Holocene.
The only period where human civilization has ever existed.
The only one. These boundaries are like the guardrails for the planet. They define the safe operating space for humanity.
And we are currently pushing past them.
We are. We've dangerously crossed the boundaries for climate change and overwhelmingly for biosphere integrity. That's biodiversity loss.
We're basically driving outside the guardrails.
We're leaving the stability of the Holocene and heading into a much hotter, much more unpredictable state. A state where we can't guarantee anything. Not our food supply, not stable weather, nothing.
The message, especially in the 2019 film Climate Change: The Facts, was praised for being so direct.
People called it a rousing call to arms. And the reason it worked, the reason people listened, is because it was delivered by Attenborough.
The ultimate trusted voice.
Exactly. He could use a robust title like that and not be dismissed as some kind of alarmist. He just presented the science clearly.
But even with that clarity, the political situation is lagging dangerously.
Experts agree countries are not on track to meet the Paris Agreement goals. Not even close.
So if we continue on this path,
The projection is for 3 to 4 degrees of warming by the end of the century.
which isn't just a number, that guarantees the cascading failure you talked about. The Amazon dies, the coral reefs die, the ice sheets melt.
And the urgency comes from the fact that the climate is moving faster than our politics. The UN Secretary General has said we just can't afford any more delays. Every fraction of a degree makes it worse.
The inertia is just enormous.
It's political and economic.
Yeah.
Our whole world is built on fossil fuels and infinite growth. It resists the kind of fundamental change the science demands.
So this brings it all right back to us, to human behavior.
It does. And Attenborough is clear that's the engine of decline, but he makes a really important distinction between individual symbolic acts and what's systemically necessary.
Before we get to that, what are the specific root causes of extinction he lists, beyond just CO2?
In extinction, the facts, he breaks it down. First is direct exploitation, poaching, the illegal wildlife trade.
He uses the example of pangolins, right?
Yes, their scales are demanded for alternative medicine in Asia. It fuels this huge black market that's just wiping them out.
Okay, what's second?
Second is pollution, chemical effects. He mentions the toxin PCB, which builds up in the food chain and could cause the loss of killer whales off the UK coast because it makes them infertile.
And the third factor is systemic.
It's corporate blame. The private sector's relentless drive for profit, which often leads to a total disregard for the environment. If chopping down an ancient forest is cheaper, the system incentivizes it.
Which brings us to that big debate. Population versus consumption.
He's seen the population go from 2 billion to nearly 8 billion. He calls it alarming.
But he argues it's not just about the number of people.
No. He says a more significant driver right now is the sheer amount of stuff consumed by the existing population, especially in the developed world.
Our ecological footprint.
Exactly. One person in a wealthy country consumes exponentially more resources, so our habits are the primary engine of habitat loss.
And he gives that really clear example of how UK food demand causes problems thousands of miles away.
The soy example. It's a perfect illustration.
Explain that.
Soy is grown in Brazil, in the Cerrado savanna, often as a monoculture, which kills biodiversity. That soy is then exported to the UK.
To be used as chicken feed.
Right. So a choice made at a UK dinner table is directly driving the destruction of an ecosystem in another hemisphere.
This leads right into the debate about our personal choices, the plastic bag dilemma.
And he's so nuanced on this. It's fascinating. He acknowledges the academic debate that, on a pure carbon footprint basis, a single-use plastic bag might actually be better than a cotton one.
Better? How?
Unless you use that cotton bag something like 130 times. Because cotton uses enormous amounts of water and energy to produce and transport. Plastic is lightweight and, bizarrely, can be less carbon-intensive per item.
But its end-of-life pollution is obviously catastrophic.
That's the other side of the coin. And this complexity leads to his aha moment about individual action.
Which is that the action itself isn't the most important thing.
No. He says avoiding plastic is important because it's how people in a democracy express their concern. It sends a signal. It raises the political temperature.
But it's not the end goal.
No. He is absolutely clear. The fundamentally important thing is to elect politicians who see the danger and will take genuine, large-scale, systemic action.
He applies the same logic to eating meat, doesn't he?
He does. He starts as a biologist.
Yeah.
Humans are omnivores. We evolved to eat pretty well everything. Biologically, that's what we are.
So why does he say we have to change?
Because of our social evolution.
Yeah.
Because of our sheer numbers. He says eating meat at an industrial scale is no longer practical.
We've run out of planet.
We simply can't destroy the rest of the natural world to create farmland for livestock. The practical reality is we have to modify our diet.
But I have to push back a bit. If his vision relies on us consuming less, reducing meat, doesn't that mean asking for a global economic collapse? Our whole system is based on growth.
That is the friction point.
Yeah.
And he addresses it, maybe implicitly, He argues the short-term pain of restructuring our economy is necessary to avoid the guaranteed collapse of his catastrophe scenario.
So the argument is that continuing on our current path is the real path to economic ruin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't have a functioning economy on a 4-degree hotter planet with mass famine. The transition is costly, but the alternative is, well, it's the end of everything.
And he doesn't shy away from the population issue either.
No, he says growth has to end. He's worried that even though it's predicted to stabilize, it might stabilize at a level rather higher than the Earth can really accommodate.
Right. So the goal is to stabilize sooner and at a lower number.
Which is why his solutions focus on ethical ways to do that, through social uplift, not coercion.
Okay, so that brings us to the solutions, a vision for the future, how to rewild the world.
Yes, and despite all the warnings, this part is framed as a practical instruction manual. It's not a plea, it's a plan.
The first piece is stabilizing the human footprint ethically. What are the policies he proposes?
He focuses on social development because the data is clear. As living standards improve, fertility rates naturally fall.
So what does that mean in practice?
3 things. 1, bring countries out of poverty. 2, provide universal health care, which reduces infant mortality. And 3, crucially, improve girls' education.
Which is one of the single biggest drivers of lower fertility rates.
And increased economic power. They are developmental goals first, with a massive environmental benefit.
Okay, so beyond our numbers, we have to rewire our industries. Let's start with energy.
The plan here is definitive. Move entirely to renewable energy. Solar, wind, hydro, geothermal.
And his point is that the technology is there.
The technology now exists to power all of human civilization multiple times over. It's no longer a technical problem, it's a problem of political will and investment.
And what about food? First, the oceans.
For the oceans, the solution is managed conservation. He says if we protect just 1/3 of the world's coastal areas from fishing,
A third.
just a third, fish population could completely rebuild. It's called the spillover effect. The fish flourish in the protected zones and then spill over, repopulating the other areas.
So conservation actually increases the long-term food supply.
Exactly. It leaves the remaining 2/3 of the ocean sufficient for sustainable human use.
And on land, it comes back to our diet.
It does. By reducing or eliminating meat, especially red meat, we use land far more efficiently. This would free up vast areas of the planet currently used for pasture.
And that freed up land is key to his vision.
That's where the rewilding happens. We let those areas recover, let forests regrow, let ecosystems repair themselves, and start soaking up carbon again.
Now, this all sounds incredibly ambitious, almost utopian. How does he make it feel possible?
By grounding it in real-world examples. Success stories that prove this isn't just a theory.
Like Costa Rica.
Costa Rica is the perfect example. Through government policy, paying landowners to conserve, they completely reversed deforestation. Their forests have bounced back. It shows political will can win.
And Palau for the oceans.
Yes, their fishing regulations and marine protected areas show that marine recovery can happen quickly and measurably when you give it a chance.
And the third example is the Netherlands.
Right. A small, dense country that's a world leader in efficient, low-impact agriculture. They show how you can produce more food on less land with fewer resources, a blueprint for the developed world.
And maybe the most compelling proof of all came from that 2021 film, The Year Earth Changed.
That was a fascinating global experiment, wasn't it? It looked at the effect of the COVID lockdowns in 2020.
With human activity massively reduced.
And the footage was incredible. Pumas in Santiago, wildlife thriving in quiet cities and coastal waters.
It was like a global proof of concept for his whole vision.
It was irrefutable. It showed that the moment we step back, even a little, nature is ready and able to start healing. It proved the planet's resilience.
Which brings us to that one final emotional success story from extinction, the facts.
Oh, the gorillas. It's such a powerful way to end.
He revisits the Virunga Mountains where he filmed that famous sequence for Life on Earth back in 1979.
And at that time, there were only about 250 mountain gorillas left in the world. They were on the absolute brink.
But because of dedicated conservation by the Rwandan government, using tourism money for rangers, helping local farmers,
The population has grown from 250 to over 1,000.
1,000.
It's the ultimate message of hope. It shows that positive change is not just possible, it has been achieved. It's the perfect rebuttal to pessimism.
So this whole deep dive, it really traces his journey from a purely descriptive observer to this urgent evidence-based activist.
And that transition is based entirely on the certainty of the science.
He was hesitant to do it for a long time, wasn't he?
Very. He said himself, I'm not an atmospheric chemist. He was careful because he knew his voice carried weight. He didn't want to get it wrong.
What was the turning point for him?
He says it was a lecture he heard in 2004 from the U.S. climate scientist Ralph Cicerone. Once the scientific case was solidified for him personally, once it hit that threshold of certainty, he felt he had no choice but to become outspoken.
And he's taken that credibility right to the top, to the UN climate talks.
Yes, taking the people's seat, as they call it, representing the hundreds of millions whose lives are already being affected. His mission is to make their voices heard over the political noise.
So, to synthesize all of this, his mission is clear. We have to stop thinking we are the be-all and end-all.
We have to accept the natural world exists for itself, not just for us. The problems are getting worse every day. The time for delay is over.
And while individual acts are good for expressing concern and building momentum,
The collective existential need is for large-scale systemic solutions right now. Rewilding, renewable energy, and stabilizing our population through ethical development.
it's about choosing the path that lets the natural world recover so that we can survive.
Exactly.
That brings us to our final provocative thought for you. Attenborough points out something quite remarkable about human history. For thousands of years, we've been tribal. We solved our problems with force, with war.
But then, very recently, we managed to create global institutions, things like the United Nations, an arena where nations debate and cooperate instead of just fighting.
It's an incredible, surprising advance when you think about it.
It really is.
So the question this raises is, if humanity has proven it can evolve its politics to ensure our global political survival,
Why do we find it so incredibly difficult to extend that same cooperative foresight to managing our collective biological and environmental future?
what are the mechanisms holding us back from applying our most advanced social achievement, global cooperation, to the most fundamental challenge we've ever faced?
Is it that we still see the environment as something external to us, rather than the shared foundation of the very global society we work so hard to build?
We'll leave you there to think about Attenborough's powerful witness statement and his vision for the future. We hope this deep dive has given you the essential knowledge you need to be well-informed and ready to engage with the biggest challenge of our time.